it is a pleasure, an honor, a joy, and very interesting for me to be seated here interviewing the host of Everyday Life.
Hello.
Hello, Brian, I must say it was great. We missed you, yes, but for me sitting in during Everyday Life, I learned so much.
How was that?
Oh, it was great. We had some amazing guests, amazing guests. You should actually watch the clips on YouTube.
Okay.
If you can.
No, I was able to stream when you had Bakutana.
Oh, yeah, yes. That was very good. Money in relationships.
Yes. So you discuss money with your husband.
We try to, but still, I'm not as accountable as probably Bakutana would say, because I mean, I got married a bit later in life, and we all had pretty much separate lives. So, and money is very tricky. I advise people talk about money now before you get married, because it's hard.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about money.
Okay, but speaking of money, you have just come from one of the places that has been described before as one of the most expensive cities to live. It has lots of expatriates. Politically, industrially, it's a very big hub and of the Middle East, Abu Dhabi. Tell us about it.
It was quite an amazing experience. You know, I had been to Dubai before, so you know, I was a bit excited. I was not even a bit, really excited about Abu Dhabi, because when I was in Dubai, they said, oh, you should go to Abu Dhabi. It is like the next big thing. They're building a new city. And so when I went there, I was expecting heaven. Yeah, and alas,
you were in heaven.
I was in heaven. You know, one of the things that these guys do, the first thing that I saw, if you look at that video, that is called the Inspiration Center, Mabel.
Okay.
So it was established, it's called Sadiyat, and Sadiyat means happiness. And it's called the Center of Happiness, where, I don't know if it's the right word, Emiratis, but people living in Abu Dhabi are supposed to go to this center to see the vision of Abu Dhabi. So there's a tour guide, he explains, so that's the story of UAE and how it was formed, the culture, the different things that they stand for. And so I get there, and of course there's this awesome tour guide. He's like, welcome, Mr. Milando. I'm like, oh, thank you, sir. You know, I got 5-star treatment from the Abu Dhabi Tourism Board. And I was like, Ibanang, I'm just Mlondo Brian, I get me a cab driver.
You are so, by the way.
So, you know, I was privileged to have Etihad pay for the trip.
Okay.
And they did a phenomenal job. I think some of you saw me, you know, feeling, you know, the business class of Etihad Airways. So they got me to
Abu Dhabi. You sat in business class?
Oh, yeah! I was flossing in business class. So that place there, that is the map. An artistic impression.
Center.
Yes, in the Inspiration Center. And it represents every building. So every building that has light, you see where, so that is already, you know, established. It's called the Louvre Center, right there. And if you see wherever there's light, that building is already up. That is going to be one of their biggest malls there also. And some of the places are already there. They have an international school from the UK, which is like 400 years old. It's already there. Those are going to be one of the world's first carved buildings. That's a museum.
That's a building?
That's going to be a building. That's called the Sheikh Zayed Museum. And it's the inspiration is a feather. I think the bird is the pelican. That's the feather. And it's going to house the Sheikh Zayed Museum. It will have the history of the UAE. So there were 7 caliphates, and they decided to merge all of them together. So it's that building is going to have the history of Abu Dhabi and where they are going. Everything in those 4 towers. The carved buildings, very beautiful.
And how did you learn a little bit maybe about the architecture? How is it possible that the building can slant at that angle?
They use the world's best, some of the finest architects and designers in the world, and that's what I loved about them. You know, I remember when I told you guys, these guys realize that they cannot do some things, so they go out and pay the best. So the guy who designed that building is one of the best architects in the world. Not even in Europe, in the world. So he was inspired by a feather and said, okay, maybe we'll carve it a little bit. They already have a carved building, but it's not, so carved. So I got a chance to visit the Ferrari world.
Yes, tell me about that. Now, Ferrari world, what is the relation? It's in the shape of a car or something, of the car?
What they've done is to cover the top of the building with the Ferrari symbol.
It's red.
It's red. So
okay.
I was able to see some of those cars. You cannot sit in the cars, but they have all these engines that Ferrari has used in the past, and they put a little history to it. And they say this engine was designed in this year by this guy, and this one used it during this time. Some of the seats in the cars are there. They tell you, please do not sit here, but they sell them.
They said, are these cars that have, let's say, taken part in Formula One or have been owned by some rich people in the past?
Yeah.
And what is the connection between, that's Brian Mulondo there.
Yes, that's me, man.
What is the connection between Ferrari World and Abu Dhabi? Did they just say, okay, let us have a Ferrari museum, sort of?
Well, Abu Dhabi has become now a prime destination for the Ferrari world. It's one of the legs. And actually this year in November, if all goes well, I'll be able to go back to attend the Grand Prix, the final leg.
Okay.
In Abu Dhabi. And
where they get 50 points.
Yes, where they get 50, the last one. And when I was at the Ferrari one, I thought about Aisha the whole time. It's like, oh my goodness, Aisha should be here. So some of the cars that were used back in the day when they had just started, racing, but they have a history. And in the Ferrari world, I met Ugandans, Mabel.
What were they doing there?
They work at the Ferrari world.
Cheyo.
Yes, Cheyo. So they saw me and they're like, "Hey, Brian from the Uganda." And of course, the guy who was hosting me asked me, "So, are you popular?" I'm like, "Not really. I'm just a simple guy, but these guys, I know them." And they were like, "Banang, to send I want to go to money." So they work at the reception, at the restaurant, in the toilets. So they're everywhere. Ugandans are very many in the UAE. So
is it easy to do cheyo? Because they usually talk about, people prefer to go to the US and the UK to do cheyo. I mean, I think for one, it's easier. The language it's easier to get by. In UAE, how easy is it for Ugandans to do cheyo, other than being a maid, as we have seen people going to the Middle East?
Well, when I talk to people, they said that some of the people in the UAE do not want to work, and that's because government gives them money. They are paid to be unemployed, for lack of a better word. So there are so many, workers from Pakistan. The guy who was driving me is from Pakistan. Yes, Ugandans, Tanzanians, Kenyans. I met some Kenyans in a restaurant. There are so many people from the Middle East. The guy was telling me that, here we don't even need democracy because government pays. Your dream should not be stopped because you do not have school fees.
Really?
If you want to be a doctor, they'll give you, the money to pay. And you do not just go to some funny UPE thing. It is a quality education. If you want to go to Harvard and be the best, and government can, get something from you in the future when you're done with your education, so they will invest it.
And send you to Harvard.
And send you to Harvard.
Just by being an Emirati.
Yes, and so the president right now is the son of the founder of the UAE. So he's doing a good job. He's very popular. They took me to this place that it's like a district that he owns. Cheap accommodation for everyone. It was quite exciting. So
there are no poor people there in Abu Dhabi?
Of course there are poor people, but I think they are not as poor as we are. But of course there are poor people. That neighbor is called the Yas Water World.
Yes.
Yes, it is the biggest water park probably in Africa.
In Africa or Middle East?
I mean in Middle East and Africa. Well, but that is Yas Water World. It's an unforgettable experience. Some of the things that this place has: 43 rides, slides and attractions. It has 5 one-of-a-kind rides that have never been in any water park before in the world. Now, this was the most interesting thing. It has the longest suspended roller coaster with onboard special water and laser effects. It has the biggest children's play area in the world. So what I saw in Abu Dhabi, these guys have created all these options for children to just play, to just be children. So it was quite an amazing, you know, you can't, if you can't surf, you go and learn. It's powered. The water will do. So that's a lot. Do you see that? Yeah, the water surfing, yes.
So you can't like fall and
no.
And
of course you can fall,
but
so that's for learners right there, and you go and try to learn how to surf using the little water, you know, the small amounts of water, and when they see that, okay, you're kind of good, you go to the big there's a huge screen in the back, it's playing music and videos, there's a restaurant, so that's the huge one. So if you see the big guy in the back doing his thing, look at that water level. So when you learn how to surf using the other side, you graduate to this side, and yeah, go and do your thing. They have a huge pool. I think that is the size of this place, of the Serena Hotel.
Did you do anything? Did you go on any of the rides? Did you surf?
Unfortunately, no.
Why, Malo?
I was in transit. I was in transit for lack of a better one. I was in Abu Dhabi
sounds
for
like
one
an
day.
excuse.
No, I was in Abu Dhabi for one day. They wanted to give me everything, a lot. So, but I was able to, you know, shower.
So will you be? You were able to what?
To shower a bit in the water. But it was an amazing experience. Yes, Water World, the biggest water park.
So people actually go to Abu Dhabi now, like for Ferrari World. I'm on holiday. I want to go to Abu Dhabi because I want to see Ferrari cars.
Yes.
I want to go to the museum, and there's a water world. I can go with my family and we just have a day out.
And in November, they've started planning. The hotels are booked in November.
For Formula One?
Yes, they are ready. They are ready for the ride. So even Ferrari World is working on the parking lots. They bring all these automated machines. Yeah, that should teach us. The Pope is coming here, and some grass has not been planted. So that was
in Kenya, grass had to grow in a week for Obama. Tell us about this mosque here.
That was the highlight of my trip. And I'm not a Muslim, but oh my goodness, what a marvel of architecture. First, it's called the Sheikh Zayed Mosque. I even have to read this because I wrote down some of the amazing things. It took 3,000 men to build that mosque. It is golden marble. I don't know.
Golden marble?
I don't know what that even means, but but yeah, marble that is gold. I don't know what it means, but they gave me this audio book that talks about the mosque and some of the things that it has. So look at that. On any given day, it can seat from 7,000 to 40,000 people praying and worshiping.
Do they go there like 5 times a day, or is it like closed for special occasions?
Fridays. Fridays, that's where, yes, it is the national mosque, but also the mosque for Abu Dhabi. So.
And you're allowed to go there to tour it?
There are so many tourists. You know, they were taking pictures with selfie sticks everywhere. Check this out, Mabel. Sheikh Zayed is the largest mosque in the United Arab Emirates. It measures approximately 290 meters by 440. So that's about 960 feet by 1,300 feet. It covers an area of 12 hectares. Unbelievable. So if we can have, you know, the inside of the mosque, I will kind of explain what some of the things. But as the country's grand mosque, it is the key place. Or, you know, on Friday people will go there, and during Eid celebrations, it sits up to 40,000 Muslims worshipping. It has lights, the chandeliers. I am told that they have 14 million lights in the chandeliers. There are 3 chandeliers, but there are 14 million lights, and each light works.
How big is that chandelier? 3 with 14 million lights.
Yes, big chandeliers. I think they weigh about 20 kgs, The biggest is 40 kgs. So it was grand design, beautiful grand design.
So you were talking, you mentioned something. Were you an ambassador for Uganda, or you were just an ambassador for Etihad?
Etihad, well, my whole trip, I was supposed to end up in the US for the UNA convention. So Ugandans in the US, you know, have this festival, they meet and they have these business talks. They invite artists from Uganda. So where I was, Miss Hatsenakula came, what's this man, King Saha came, Chitoke Chifansadira came, because they never see some of these guys. So it is also an opportunity for them to come and you know, meet. So so Abu Dhabi was one of the places that I visited
on your way there,
on my way to the US. So that is the city. You can see one of the buildings. These guys concentrate a lot on design, you know.
I'm looking at that and thinking, yeah, what kind of building is that?
So that's one of the buildings. I'd never got to know the name, but from where I was staying, you could see the curved building. During the day, it's black. At night, it's green. So that was one of the cars I saw. One of the small cars, really. Everyone drives. Speed limit is 120 kilometers. If they catch you riding at 140 kilometers, you're fined. So anyway, in whatever area you're in, if the speed limit is 60 kilometers, you just add 20 kilometers plus. So then if you go above 80 kilometers, you're charged. So
clearly no potholes.
Yes, no potholes. Of course, here they do for us one northern bypass, and we thank the president. We make parties to thank him for a bypass. You know, the bypasses are everywhere. The roads are beautiful, sleek. I think that's why people are able to drive so fast. So, of course, my driver was telling me I can't even drive faster than 120k because I will be fined. There are cameras everywhere, so if you're driving fast, this camera will take a picture of your car. They send you 300 dirhams you have to pay. So when I got to that place, I was like, oh, I'm finally home. I see cars that are in Uganda.
Yes.
Because I was in a place, I stayed in a place where I think most of the affluent stayed, you know. So I was seeing cars that I didn't even know. Of course, I did my malo. I was being driven around in... So when I saw that, I was like, okay, that was my car. That was my taxi. Really? Yes. Isn't that awesome?
I'm looking at it and wondering.
I know. So that was my taxi. Yeah. It was taking me out. Okay, I have to floss a bit, but the Ugandans understand. Yeah. So that was the car I was sent to me. So when I saw the other cars, I was like, oh, Banangi. I relate now. At least I see some Toyota cars. But the streets are clean, of course. If you're caught throwing rubbish around, you're fined. My tour guide told me, you know what, the crime rate is so low because people have what they need. So it was a beautiful experience.
And the weather, was it too hot?
It was too hot, too hot. In fact, I sent you guys a picture when I was literally dripping. You know, I decided to take a walk and I regretted that walk. It is so, I was dripping up to my, you know. But they've made sure that when you're in a building, the AC works. Yeah, but at the moment you get out, you know, you're hit by this. So that's my guy taking me around and I'm asking him all these questions. So one of the things I realized, and that's what we need to learn, and I think UTB is trying to do that, to encourage domestic tourism, so that when an American comes here, Mabel, you can explain anything. They don't need to go and book a safari ride. Okay, they will go and see wild animals, but you can be able to explain Parliament, you know, the old Kampala Mosque, City Square, stuff like that. So they're encouraging their people to tour. In fact, when I was at the Inspiration Center, they told me on several Saturdays they get locals, they send buses to them and ferry them to the Inspiration Center to explain to them what their history is about and where they are going. So that was quite interesting.
You know, something you mentioned earlier, something we should be doing because the Pope is coming, and I wanted to challenge you, Brian Mulondo. What have you done? Have you decided to create a visit, have an appointment with UTB, or go to visit Bishop Cyprian Lwanga and say, you know what, this is my plan, or this is something Uganda can do? Have you gone to the Ministry of Tourism? What are you doing, or what do you think we can do as Ugandans to maximize on the Pope's visit? Because it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be on all the major news networks, the 2 days that he will be here.
I think, okay, I have to give it to UTB. You know, I was with the CEO in the US and was telling these Ugandans about the opportunities that are in Uganda. And he was also explaining, you know, the Pope's visit is a big deal here. Namugongo, they've started working, you know. We are seeing some buildings and roads that are being wanted. KCCA is making sure that some roads, even inside there, they are tarmacked. So I think maybe we'll have a problem with the grass. But as far as some buildings are concerned, I think they're doing well. I stay near Namugongo, so I see the hassle that we go through to get to our homes. So because they're trying to get ready. So UTB has even asked, for example, the Hotel Association, the World Hotel Association, to give 5-star status to some of the hotels here, because those 2 days are going to be very crucial. You know, guests will come from all over the world, international media. He's just in Cuba. He was just in Cuba, and international media put him on the whole day. So we are going to be a center of attraction in the days to come. And I think our leaders learned a lot from Chogam, of course. So and I trust the church to handle this. You know, the church is quite different from, you know, churches know how to handle money. They know how to take care of guests. And the Pope, I think their protocol side is quite much more organized. Where they mess up, they'll just take over. So I'm sure Dr. Cyprian and the whole team can't you know, even they can't make a mistake when it comes to this. This is crucial. Okay.
I was just wondering, they may not necessarily be looking at it in terms of tourism. For them, they are looking at sheep, you know, other people who are coming. But then again, something I think that has amazed me, the Arab world, if Uganda was that hot, you know, what would, because I think the way I understand it, they have taken what life gave them. As they say, if life gives you lemons, you make lemonade.
Yes.
So they don't have much. So they have created a Ferrari world of sorts, so that people go there actually for other things. And even that water world, that water park you're talking about, then it's something that we can do, that people will say, I'm going to Uganda just because of the water park that is there.
Of course.
Or something else. Because we say we are gifted by nature, so we only maximize what nature has given. But if nature hasn't given you,
I must say that we are maximizing a lot from gorilla trekking.
Yeah, but that's nature. Nature gave us
I mean,
gorillas.
God has given us that.
Okay.
You know, only Uganda and Rwanda have the biggest populations of gorillas in the world. So we are maximized, and the biggest population is in Uganda, not even Rwanda. So,
but the Rwandese maximum. You can think there are more gorillas in Rwanda.
Yeah, there's been a lot of confusion.
There's a gorilla naming ceremony.
There's a lot of confusion at UTB, which I believe Amos Wekesa and the crew are trying to make sure. You know, Dr. Stephen has done a phenomenal job since he became CEO. So they are now intentional. They attend all these conventions to learn, you know, the right tourism. One of the year that I got married, I was on the same plane with them when they were going to Germany to showcase Uganda. So they have, I think, mastered, and they now understand why Kenya was able to reap a lot of money from tourism than us. So I think we are getting there. The national parks are making sure that they put all these places, you know, up to the standard. I got an opportunity of visiting, well, working in these national parks for 5 years. So I got to see the transition from where they are, and they charge Ugandans very little money, so we should be able to go to these places. You know, they will charge an American $100, you know, dollars. A Ugandan, you pay, Ugandans and East Africans will pay about $20. So we should, maybe they've created these opportunities for us to go to these places. So And you know, I would definitely blast them here, but I've seen the transition, so we'll get there, but we are doing well.
Okay, Brian, in under a minute, what are your final words? Maybe Kampala, Dubai, I mean Abu Dhabi, any? We have hope.
We are obviously far from
Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. We are far, very far.
But there's not a direct flight.
We need to first catch up with Nairobi. As have Ugandans are annoyed. But we need to first catch up with Nairobi. But I encourage Ugandans to start learning about their country. We need to appreciate this country more. Those places are very hot. So what they do, they've created these pipes in the whole city to water the grass. Maybe we need to learn that. We need to respect walkways, banagi. You know, so for me, I'm for any KCCA official who arrests a man stepping on grass. Beat him if you have to beat him in public. I don't care. Do that, because you see a man who works in some bank stepping on grass. You know, so we need to respect those things. Leaders need to become very, you know, Ugandans told me the ministers who flock Yas Waterworld, the ministers who go to these 5-star hotels, the Ugandans I met in Abu Dhabi, what do we copy there? They just come back, they spend money, they come back here, and then they go on with their usual, you know, sleeping in parliament. They just don't care about this country. So, and I'm excited about people like us, the younger people who are out there. We're dreaming big. So, but I want to thank Etihad for giving me the opportunity for, you know, of going to Abu Dhabi.
In business class.
Yes, in business class. Beautiful business class. I got to sleep. So there are lots of, many Ugandans on the plane, you know, to and from, guys who are working in Abu Dhabi and of course doing business. So Etihad Airways absolutely made this trip possible.
Okay, I'd also like to introduce myself to Etihad. I sit here with Brian, so maybe if there's another extra business class ticket available, I am.
But even the economy seat is a smart seat, so you have a lot of leg room. So, yeah.
Well, you can go and read more about Abu Dhabi, and I think I would love the water world. I love water and all those water things.
When I was at the water world, I kept thinking about my children. I'm like, oh, they would love it. Absolutely.
Well, Brian Mulondo, thank you very much for sharing.
Thank you very much.
And then maybe we'll have another session with Texas and Los Angeles.
Oh yeah, that is coming up in a couple of days. That was different. And when I'm doing that, I'll be speaking American. One in Charlie, Ugandan.
Well, Aisha will be up next with all the sport. What is happening in the Rugby World Cup? FIFA having allowed the vice president to be extradited, as well as Diego Costa and his ban.
Diego Costa.